Hello and welcome back to Michael's Japan Diaries. そして最近登録してくださっている日本の方も Michael's Japan Diaries へようこそ。I don't actually have anything special or interesting to show you today. I've just built up a long list of things that I want to keep you updated on because we haven't really had a chance to just talk recently. So yeah, I want to just give you a bit of an update of what's happening and how things are going. As of right now, as I'm recording this video, I have 99 subscribers on the channel, which is not a lot, but it's a cute, nice little number, which is almost a round number. And also, given how almost 2 years ago when I started the channel, it was mostly just to keep friends and family updated on what's going on. It's kind of nice to see a bit of growth and see new people coming in, and so I just wanted to point that out. And if you're not subscribed, you have a chance to be subscriber number 100. There's no prize for that except for you can be proud of yourself for doing that or whatever. Anyway, I have a bit of a list here of things that I want to talk about because otherwise I know I'm going to forget it, because that's just what I do. Because once I start talking, I'll just go like blah, 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 and keep talking about that and forget all of the other things that I did mean to talk about. So, first off, I want to talk a bit about the weather, because technically it's still the rainy season here, but we basically haven't had any rain. There's a little bit of a sometimes, like today we had a little bit of for maybe 10 minutes. Technically it's still a rainy season, but for the entire duration of it, it's just been not raining, which is nice. What is not nice, however, is that the temperature is summer levels. It's over 30 degrees basically every single day, and that alone is not a big problem. What is a problem is when that 30 degrees is combined with 75 or 80% humidity. That makes it not very nice. And also inside here in my apartment, it gets quite hot. I do have an air conditioner. I don't know if it's noisy enough right now to be picked up on the camera, but I am running the air conditioner. I'm running it at 27 degrees because otherwise it actually gets quite cold sitting in front of it. So running it at 27 degrees means that I can keep it at a comfortable temperature in here without having like really, really cold in my face, because my air conditioner is right there and my PC is right there, so I'm sitting basically right in front of the So yeah, running it at 27 degrees at a nice, what's the word I'm looking for? Not wind power, but just wind power. But during the night I usually turn it off, and bedroom is back in there. There's no air conditioning in there. I do keep the door open, but I turn off the air conditioner, and that means usually in the morning when I wake up it's over 27 degrees and typically around 75% humidity, which is absolute death to wake up to, which means I also do wake up because it's kind of difficult to sleep in. But yeah, when I'm just sitting here, I do prefer to use the air conditioner because I prefer to not be uncomfortable when I'm at home. How about that? What I will say, I did briefly mention about the rainy season. We've been quite lucky here because just a couple of days ago in the southern part of Kyushu, they had ridiculous amounts of rain. Like the meteorological agency gives warnings. They have a 5-step warning scale. A warning scale with different levels of this kind of weather might happen, or this weather is happening, or depending on what's how severe it is. There are different levels, and the top level is the one that's in English called emergency warning, which is evacuate and protect your lives because this is serious. And that level of warning was in place for both Miyazaki, Kagoshima and Kumamoto prefectures. So basically the entire southern half of Kyushu. So we were quite lucky up here in Fukuoka, saw none of that, but it's warm and moist. I'm just referring to my list again to check the other things that I wanted to talk about. One thing that I have done recently is that I have joined a gym. there is, fortunately fairly close to my apartment, a gym that is open 24 hours a day. So anytime I want to, I can just boop and go to the gym. I've never really done any exercise in my life before, but I kind of feel like wandering around looking like a pale stick here gives me... Well, I can't avoid getting lots of attention when I walk around in Japan simply due to being extremely not Japanese and a little bit taller than average, let's say it that way. But rather than just being a little bit of a white stick walking around, I figured try to gain some weight and probably be a bit more healthy would be good. So I joined a gym, which should be simple and easy, you would imagine. But procedures in Japan for basically anything are usually more complicated than they need to be, including joining the gym. So they had this campaign, and if you join the gym, wow, this is like a tongue twister. If you join the gym during June, if you join a gym during June, if you join a gym during June, if you join a gym during June, if you join the gym during June, you have to pay for the remainder of June, but then you get the entire month of July for free, and also the enrollment fee is reduced to 0 yen. There is a separate registration fee which was not reduced to 0 yen. So like, why is there an enrollment fee and a registration fee? Isn't that just a way for them to say, hey, this thing is free, but you still have to pay a bunch of money? So it sounds better that they say it's free rather than saying it's half price. I don't know. The registration fee was 3,000 yen and the enrollment fee was 2,000 yen, and that part was the one that was reduced to 0 yen. And then I still had to pay for the remainder of June because I joined in the middle of June, and then July is free. So I try to go there a couple of times a week and do a bit of training to not look like a stick. And it's I have no idea what I'm doing. Well, it's not true. I do have a little bit of an idea of what I'm doing because I got some advice from the staff. They have this twice a week challenge kind of thing where they will show you how to use some of the machines and kind of create a menu, use these machines, and then you log it in a little book you have there. And after you've done this 5 times, you have another meeting with the staff, and they'll talk about how is it going, and the next step of the challenge, they'll introduce new machines, new things. I just had recently the meeting for proceeding to the second step of this. Actually, nice kind of advice on how to use the things. And this whole thing is free, which probably explains why the membership itself is so stupidly expensive. It's like 7,000 yen a month just for the membership, and on top of that you have to pay like, 500 yen for some sort of insurance kind of thing that after you've been a member for 6 months, you can choose to not have that insurance, I think. Also, they have a campaign where the first 2 months a lot of these extra things are free, so you get the things, and then if you don't want to pay for them after those 2 months, you have to tell them, which means that if you don't tell them, you will start paying more. For example, and this is where I should have remembered in advance and prepared, so please give me a moment. As I was saying, for example, they have a campaign where they have a water server at the gym. They have a normal water fountain, but that water fountain is obviously not running right now due to the situation. But they have another water server which serves hydrogen water, which is water with hydrogen added to it for some reason. And you can pay an extra 1,000 yen per month to have access to that. And as part of the campaign, they're like, we will give you this free drinking bottle and 2 months free of using this hydrogen water server. I'm like, why, what? Water is water. Why would you add hydrogen to it? But anyway, I got a water bottle, so while it's free, I might as well just get the water from there. And they also have little private lockers that you can store shoes in or whatever, which you can also pay 1,000 yen per month to have that locker, which is also free for the first 2 months. So I have a little locker there where I keep a pair of shoes in, but I don't want to pay 1,000 yen for having a place to put my shoes, because I can just bring shoes. Or yeah, but anyway, the actual registration procedure, on top of like the little fees and all of the things, the actual registration procedure wasn't complicated. It just took a long time. It took literally an hour. It's not like we were waiting or anything. It took an hour. Explaining the rules and, oh, this is how the gym works. These are the procedures. Oh, please sign these papers. Please sign these papers as well. Please also sign these papers, because there were papers for all of the things. And, oh, I'm going to follow all of the rules of the gym. And when I use these machines, I'm going to do this and this and this and that and that and that. And also, by the way, in order to pay for it, you please take the money automatically from my bank account to fill out a form with all of the details there, with all of the details of my bank account as well. And on every single form, I had to sign my name like 3 or 4 times. And write my address and my phone number and everything on 3 separate forms. And having had all of these rules explained, it took an hour to enroll in the gym. So yeah, Japan. One more thing I wanted to mention about the gym actually is, because of the current situation, they have some measures in place. When you go to the gym, there's a little piece of paper that you have to fill out that say, I don't have any symptoms like fever or anything, and nobody in my family has had any of these symptoms for the past 2 weeks, and you have to measure your temperature when you go in and write it down on a piece of paper, because if you've written it down on a piece of paper, then everything is fine, apparently. You also have to wear masks at all times in the gym, which does make it a little bit more difficult to exercise, but I mean, at least they're doing something, right? On the topic of doing something, finally, vaccines are very, very, very slowly starting to roll out here. It's been kind of frustrating watching the rest of the civilized world just handling vaccines pretty efficiently, and then Japan just not really doing anything about it. They did start vaccinating back in, what was that, February? Vaccinating like high priority healthcare workers and such. And in the middle of April, I think they started opening for seniors, so people of 65 years and above. And their plan was to hopefully be able to finish vaccinating that group of people by the end of July. And as we are approaching the end of July, means that the vaccinations can open for other people. And just the other day, I received in the mail my vaccination ticket. Now, for obvious reasons, I can't show you the actual vaccination ticket, but I can show you some of the documents that came with it. There is a nice little instruction thing here, which does have English text on it right there. COVID-19 vaccination program, and in a couple of other languages, which is very nice. Everything else is just purely in Japanese. But at least they very kindly tell me in English what it is here. But yeah, that's how it works. And part of the whole thing with how it works is you have to book a time for the vaccination, and this is probably different for different areas of Japan. The way they're doing it in Fukuoka is the time at which you can start booking is different based on your age group. They have a nice little notice here that shows all of the different age groups and at what time you can start making reservations. So I'll have to wait another week before I can start making the reservation. It seems like when you make the reservation, you can make the reservation for both the first and second shot at the same time, which is kind of nice, because then you don't need to deal with going on there twice. And you can book online. When they first started the whole vaccination thing, people actually had to physically show up at a place to book their time, which caused a lot of trouble with big crowds gathering, because they had to show up to book a time, and then they couldn't book a time because too many people showed up to book a time. People had to wait for weeks to be able to even book a time. But yeah, things. Anyway, in about a week, I should be able to log in and book a time and finally be able to, well, I was about to say finish the thing, but given how several age groups are going to be vaccinated before me, it's probably going to take a while before I can finally get this done. And before every shot, you have to fill out this little thing. So there are 2 of these. There should be no personal information on this because it's just a standard form. I have to fill out this one and take it there. Basically about do you have any symptoms or any illnesses or allergies, or have you had any other vaccines recently, or, you know, standard kind of health check form kind of thing. And then you have to fill out the personal information here and bring it there before you get the shot. And then for the next shot, you have to fill out another form, so that's why there's another copy of exactly the same form. This is purely in Japanese, it only exists in Japanese, but online on the website for the Ministry of Health, they do have an English translation, and on the English translation it says, please fill out the Japanese version of the form. So you can just look at the English translation rather than filling out the Japanese form, because rules. They did also attach a nice little explanation sheet about what is the vaccine, what does it do, and maybe side effects, maybe not, blah blah blah, all of that, what does it contain. Also only in Japanese. This one also does exist in English online and a bunch of other languages, so at least that's a thing. Yeah, things are happening. Finally, like after months and months of waiting, finally things are happening. And as you have already realized, I am spending a lot of time talking. That's what I've said to begin with. I have a lot of things that I need to say. That's why I have the list of things that I want to say, because otherwise I'm going to forget to say it. And even though I'm trying to stick to saying the things I have on my list, it's taking a while because I just have I talk a lot. Sorry about that. But one of the other things that I wanted to mention is, that's a little while back now. That was in May, actually. I took the TOEIC. And probably most of you have no idea what that is, because I don't think anyone outside of Japan actually knows what TOEIC is. It is an English language proficiency test. There are 2 versions of it. There's a listening and reading test, which is the one everyone takes, people in Japan who wants to measure or prove their English abilities. And there's a speaking and writing test, which is arguably more useful, but I don't think many people actually take that one. But I figured if I'm going to be here in Japan and try to do something in Japan, it's probably a good idea to have proof that I speak English, or, well, in this case at least, understand English. So I took the listening and reading test. I personally don't really think listening and reading ability shows much about what you can actually do. So for me personally, having the speaking and writing test would be more useful, but the listening and reading test is the one that everybody takes anyway. Also, it's significantly cheaper, so I took that one just you know, so I could prove that I know English. And as expected, I got 990 points, which is the maximum score for the TOEIC test. So I can tell Japanese people, hey, I got maximum score in TOEIC, and they'll be like, oh! And to me, that's just, obviously, I speak English. That's how is this special? But for Japanese people, that's kind of special. So at least I can brag about being able to speak English way. On the topic of tests, though, just last week was the JLPT, or the Japanese Language Proficiency Test, or I suppose as the official name is, Nihongo no Onryoku Shiken. I took that as well, not specifically because I really need it, but again, it's kind of nice to just have a certificate of something that I can do. Japan is very much focused on having actual certificates and proof that you can do what you say that you can do. So I figured might as well take the JLPT. I just applied for the N3 level. For people who don't know, just brief description. There are 5 levels of the JLPT, from N5, the lowest basic simple level, up to N1, which is kind of approaching native level in terms of the grammar and vocabulary that you're supposed to know. N3 is kind of like a comfortable intermediate level in the middle between N1 and N5, and I knew for sure that I could just pass that without worrying about anything. So that's why I applied for that one. I don't want to study specifically for the sake of a test. I think that's a complete waste of time. If I did do that, I probably could pass the N2, but I think it's a complete waste of time to study specifically for the test. So taking my current ability, the level that I'm at currently, is basically N3. So if I just take the N3, then I can pass without doing anything special for it. And I took it, and I have to wait until the end of August for the result to show up. But I know I passed because it was easy, because it was the N3. There is one little thing that I do want to mention about it. There were a lot of people taking it because of the situation with, Corona and all that. Instead of gathering a lot of people at big venues, it has been spread out over smaller venues. So I actually ended up taking it at a hotel along with almost 900 others, it seems, because when you enter, there's an overview of people with these examination numbers. Go to this room, go to this room, go to this room, and the list of those examination numbers, there were 900, like a range of 900 numbers on there. So I think 900 people took it just at the venue I went to. There were multiple other venues just within Fukuoka, but obviously it's held all over Japan and actually in several other countries around the world. I don't know if it was actually held in all other countries around the world because of the current situation. I know last year it was cancelled, and in December as well. It's only held twice a year. In December as well, I think some places cancelled it or something. Last year in July, I think it was actually cancelled in Japan as well. But anyway, I took it and managed to pass it, but there were lots of other people there, and in the room that I was in, I was the only Western-looking person. I think there were about 100 people there, and I was the only Western-looking person, which is probably to be expected. I'm in Japan, and most of the exchange students that come here are not from Western countries. It did just make me realize that there are kind of different cultures about studying and exams in different countries. I think part of it also because it was the N3 and not the N2 level. A lot of the exchange students that come to Japan and study at typical Japanese language schools for a year or two, they don't really go further than N3. N3 is kind of a comfortable intermediate level that you can pass without too much trouble. So I think most of those students stop at N3, which is why a lot of those were at this test. And not exactly during the test, but after they said stop answering and before they were actually like gathering the papers, some of the other participants in the test just decided that let's just speak, let's just sit here talk while they're still gathering the papers. And yeah, I don't want to go too much into detail about people not being able to follow proper exam etiquette, but that was a bit of an experience. So anyway, at the end of August, I'll get the results of that, and sometime during September, I'll probably also get an actual certificate saying that I passed the N3. Depending on how things go, I still have a couple months left at my current school. Maybe I'll take the N2 in December just to, finish it off. N2 is kind of the only level of the N2 of the JLPT that actually matters, because that's usually the requirement for getting a job at many Japanese companies. They don't really care about your ability to speak, which the JLPT doesn't test. Exactly like the TOEIC that I mentioned before, the JLPT does not test speaking or writing or anything like that. It's purely on multiple choice. Do you know this grammar? Do you know these words? And also there's a listening test. So it doesn't really say much. As I said, my level of grammar and vocabulary is basically N3 right now, but in terms of speaking, I'm probably a lot better than most of the others who would take that test, or those who did take that test at the time. But yeah, anyway, this ended up being a very, very long talk, and I kind of expected that. I mean, I knew I had a lot of things to say. I didn't really realize it would take this long to say anything, so thank you for sticking with me. It's not a particularly exciting video, I just wanted to talk and finally had the chance to do so. So yeah, thank you for sticking with me, thank you for watching, and I'll see you again at some point in the future. Maybe, maybe not, with interesting content, who knows? Swish!